match in a row have come from behind to force extra time. Liam, here's the goal.
Yeah, Rakitic, good ball over to Vesalko, tremendous cross in. England guilty of ball watching. Walker and Trippier not really aware of what's happening where Perisic is. Walker maybe should be watching that ball and watching the man, but he doesn't see him coming, and Perisic does very well. Element of dangerous play, but the referee's never going to disallow that because Walker's head is down, and it's a great finish. And Perisic very nearly won the game for Croatia a few minutes after that when he hit the post. England did what Eamon feared they might. They dropped back and decided to defend their box, and the physicality of Croatia got them out of jail with that equaliser, and they were the better team in that second half with Modric pulling the strings in midfield.
Who do you fancy now, Eamon?
I don't know, Dara. I think what the Croats did in the second half was magnificent. I didn't think they had it in them, but it is really England were in control, and they took their foot off the pedal in a serious way. This is the first time in the tournament they've been asked a real question. It's not the first time Croatia have been asked a question. And it's a very big test for England. Croatia dominated the second half to such an extent that you'd almost say they deserved to win. And England have been weak in their response.
Bit nervy as well, England, you know,
Yeah.
at the back. Stones and Walker guilty of holding onto the ball, losing it in bad areas. But, you know, they've had a team talk now, or a little team talk. They need to gather themselves together and go again. They did it against Colombia in the second period of extra time. They came on strong. First period, they were on the ropes a bit. They must get out of their box.
Yeah, Damien, how do you see this panning out now?
Croatia have all the momentum, the energy, the legs, the creativity. You would think it's England that had 2 games on the bounce with 120 minutes. The first time they've had a fry. It's the first time they've looked nervous in the tournament because they were 45 minutes from a World Cup final. So it's interesting, can they step up to it now? Because their first real test, as we touched on.
It's gruelling stuff, it's compulsive viewing.
Gruelling stuff, addictive stuff. I guess a bit of a lack of quality now. I know that was a good chance due to tiredness. It stinks of penalties for me. And it's never a nice way, I guess, to lose a game, but it's looking like that at the minute. There's your picture, Pickford, Subasic on the other ones who will both fancy themselves, but that's the way it looks to me at the minute.
Eamon?
Yeah, Croatia seem content with what they've got, and England, Danny Rose mainly, and Rashford are the ones who are now the more aggressive. But I would agree with Damien, penalties look the most likely outcome.
How do you see it, Liam?
Well, it's enthralling, isn't it? He's made a great save there from Mandzukic. Pickford, once again, he's come to England's rescue. Both very brave, Mandzukic and him, but he come off best, and as much as that stopped a certain goal. Croatia, like Eamon said, dropped off. England, a little bit long ball, knocking balls up front from back to front, and it's not really troubling the Croatian defence. It does look like the 2 goalkeepers will have a central role in the finish of this game.
And Damien, his role now in this, Southgate, you can see him trying to motivate his players.
I don't think you need motivating. It's a World Cup final at the end of this. Tired minds, tired legs. Their shape won't change. You know that. They'll know that inside out. And, you know, there's a reason why we're here. And I think, listen, we'll talk about it after. You know, I think the lads talked about it last game. England aren't one of the great teams. The second half, they were very poor for me. They couldn't keep the ball, a lack of quality, no calm in their play. And that is the reason why we are here. Croatia were there for the taking. So they'll be kicking themselves whatever way this goes.
Yeah, I think it's for England. I think it's a reality check, and for people who were saying they might win the World Cup, it's a serious reality check.
Well, let's see. They may still do that. It could be Croatia either. France probably the big winners in all of this. They'll be loving this because whoever goes through to Sunday will be very fatigued. But anyway, Anna, thanks to George and Ray in Moscow. So delight for Croatia, their first World Cup final on Sunday, but despair for England, beaten at the semi-final hurdle. And Liam, well, look, you beforehand and for a while you've been talking about Croatia as dark horses for this tournament. They did it.
Yeah, they did it because they got a lot of character in the team, and they've got Luka Modric in the midfield, and they've shown throughout the tournament their ability to bounce back. You know, they were down again, they were behind in the game today, but they came out second half and they really took the game to England. They should have finished it in 90 minutes. It should have been all over. England, George said marvellous there. I wouldn't have said marvellous, I would have said admirable. For a young team to get to the semi-final was good, but when you analyse it, they only scored 2 goals from open play. I'm not counting the one that Harry Kane hit his heel and looped over the goalkeeper. Okay. I'm talking about moves, combination play. They just didn't have it. Lacking in midfield, and I think it tells the story that 8 or 9 of their goals, sorry Darragh, I've lost count now, but,
it's 9 now,
but set plays, and these guys can score goals from open play. England went to sleep, as Ray said, for the 2 creation goals. Maybe a little bit of nerves, maybe a little bit of inexperience, but the best team won over the 120 minutes.
Eamon, did Croatia answer the doubts you had about their character coming from behind again?
Yes, they did, and they answered it in a big way. I thought England's strength of character would be decisive, and the exact opposite happened. And Liam called it well before the match when he pointed to the clubs that these Croatian players are playing for. They've Kovacic from Real Madrid on the subs bench. You know, they are very good footballers. The players they brought on were very, very good. In Modric, they have probably the player of the tournament, an outstanding player, 32 years of age. England is a rather sad story, I think. This is the best team they played, and the system didn't hold up. I really think the back 3, Walker, Stones and Maguire, were found out. Walker badly for the equalising goal. And I think in midfield, Jordan Henderson on his own was not enough. I think there were some successes, Lingard in particular, but it's testament to the character and the ability of Croatia. And at half-time, England had a great chance, but they backed off it. And, well, they're our neighbours, and I feel sorry for them, but you get what you deserve. And they really, really didn't deserve to win that game.
Damien, like, look, you know, in the past, I suppose you go back 2 years ago, England going out of the Euros to Iceland, and, you know, there was absolute war after it, but there won't be the recriminations this time. Southgate, they got further than most people expected. Southgate has done an awful lot of good with this team. It's a young team. We mentioned earlier on about all the young players. They're so inexperienced, but did the inexperience catch up on a night like tonight with so much at stake?
I think so, possibly. You know, Southgate said the best is yet to come from these. They're still a young squad. Hats off to him. The job he's done since, I think, September 2016. But, yeah, inexperienced. The first time they turned, they looked nervous to me. You know, they exceeded everyone's expectations. But then, I guess when they're so close to the World Cup final, with 45 minutes to go, they look so sloppy. The word Liam used and yourself is character. Croatia showed more of that. They showed more personality on wanting and how to go and win the game. You mentioned all the big clubs they play for, and I think that shone through. And it just proves, I think, you know, that not us, I don't think, but people getting carried away with this English team. It's not one of the great teams, you know. Coming into the second half, they've never kept the ball, bring calm back to their play, they sting out of it.
Yeah, the trophy's going to one of them, France or Croatia.
Yeah, and listen, a wonderful final, you'll have to say. Modric in one team and Mbappe in the other. And that's what you want to see, I guess, in World Cup finals. Absolute world stars, Galacticos. To England have someone that you'd walk to the ends of the earth to watch and get out of bed to watch. You know, Mbappe, what he did last night, incredible. Modric, you'd watch him all night. But like I said, England, I think that's what they deserve tonight. You know, that just failure to keep the ball. Possession is king. And the midfield trio, Walker at the back, you know, sleeping for 2 goals. Stones sleeping for 1 goal, but just never kept the ball. Sloppy, nervous. So disappointed for them. You know, I'm not being a begrudging Irishman here wanting them to lose. I am disappointed, but at the same time, Croatia, best team, went through.
OK, Croatia into the final. It'll be a repeat of that 98 semi-final, which we showed you from 20 years ago, which the French actually won. But sure, now it's the final in Moscow on Sunday. The English dream is over. It's Croatia-France. That'll be match 64, the last match of the competition. Welcome back. Well, it's a sad evening for England, but we can't forget it's a great night for Croatian football, a country of 4 million people, and they are in to the World Cup final on Sunday. We're going to look at how they did it. First of all, we will look, Damien, at the Croatian equaliser. This is Perisic's goal in normal time.
Yeah, awful goal to give away. Don't get out to him here, stop the cross. And what we highlighted about Walker before the game, you know, can be a great defender, but lazy. The bit that gets me here, why is he looking over his left shoulder? All you're going to see there is the keeper. Everything is to his right. So he has to be scanning over his right shoulder, not his left. And that's where he'd see Perisic, but obviously doesn't. Looks the wrong way. Could he meet the ball at a higher point instead of just standing there and waiting at him on the ball? So awful defending. He was poor for the second goal as well. And I guess it's what you think of when you think of him, just lazy, switching off in his head. So really disappointing, awful goals to give away. Prince Harry will be crying into his pint tonight.
Okay.
I think it also answers why does Guardiola play him wide right as a wing back and not there, because he can't do that job. I mean, that was really shocking defending.
A more natural defender would have that instinct. Like, as you say, he's looking at the goalkeeper. Why is he not?
No, the point Damien made, why didn't he go and attack the ball? That's the point. He's standing.
Yeah.
The Croat forward is moving. He's standing. A good defender is moving and attacking the ball.
Gets there first, yeah.
Yeah, OK.
Absolutely.
When you go aiming into extra time, and the first half of extra time, well, Croatia, I don't know whether you felt they took a breather, but England had a bit of momentum behind them, and they could have got their noses in front. Stones. Yeah,
Stones, again, set piece, well organised. And Veselka, the guy who crossed it for Croatia's equaliser, saves this on the line. Number 2, it's a great header. It could have been another set-piece goal. And there's the man who made the equalising goal on the line.
That was very intelligent defending, because he wasn't actually on the line. It was when he saw Stones winning the ball, he got himself back on the line. They gave his goalkeeper that cover, and that was, well, it was defining, wasn't it? You know,
it was some display from him. He wasn't even a certainty to start tonight because he had an injury.
Lazarus, I think his middle name is, Dara.
Maybe it was his confirmation name, but certainly he'll be called that after this evening. Let's look, Liam, at the winner, a very famous goal in the history of Croatian football from a very famous player.
As Damien said, Walker a little bit culpable here. Didn't really get a good clearance away as it comes in, and Stones goes asleep here. He's not aware where Mandzukic is, and he nips in behind him. Now Stones is actually going to blame. He's going to blame Maguire for not telling him. But it's a mix-up between the two of them. They thought they cleared the ball. They switched off, and Mandzukic nicks in behind, and you know he'll put those away all day. He's been a top goal scorer down through the years, and that guy Mandzukic, for what he's given the game. Across European clubs and for his country, deserves to play in the final. But nobody more than Luka Modric deserves to play in a World Cup final. I'm thrilled for him, thrilled for this guy as well. They deserved it, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, the questions around England were around that back three, and all of them looked uncomfortable tonight.
They were never under any real pressure in the other games. I think I made the point before the match that Pickford had come to their rescue a couple of times, you know, against Sweden, balls into the box. They didn't defend them well, and Sweden got good finishes on them, but Pickford saved the day. So I think there were questions going into this match whether they could actually handle a good team like Croatia, and in the end they couldn't.
And as well, I suppose, with so many young players, like it is a positive for all these guys, the young players coming in for the future.
When you open the programme by asking a question, is this the first test they've had? And the answer was, it's the first serious test. And they failed it. And they failed it pretty miserably. That's the truth. But no, to a good team, Liam in particular deserves the credit. Liam has stuck with them all through the tournament and seen the quality they have on the bench, on the park. playing for big clubs, and it was experience, ability, and actually character.
Well, I suppose
and I would say I was very wrong about that. I thought the English character would flourish. Harry Kane tonight was very anonymous. You know, he's the captain.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And like I suppose, you know, when you look at the English team sheet, like the majority of that starting 11, they've won big trophies, but they're playing Champions League football. And I know they're younger in age than the Croatian guys.
But World Cup final, Dara, is about
huge.
temperament, isn't it? And it's about holding your nerve. And they couldn't do it, and they fell back. They tried to defend their lead when they showed they were actually very confident in that first half. And when they got the goal, they were going for a second goal. But when half-time came, they came out and just dropped deeper and deeper and deeper, and depended upon the defending of the three centre-backs. And in the end, they were found out.
Invited pressure onto their weakness, really. And in behind Henderson, Modric was superb, you know, and Perisic. They really played. They were such good footballers that they could play around the single holding midfield player there was.
Yeah, OK.